Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late here. I am having some technical difficulties. It seems to be a common theme of mine, but that's okay because I'm just learning to accept it. And it doesn't look like my microphone is working. However, it works on a different platform. So I don't even know. I'm just gonna trust that you can all hear me. It always seems to be the audio for me. So, but it is what it is, and I'm hoping that this you can hear my voice and the message will be relayed. Welcome to, I want to say, what is this, episode 4 for Tough Talks here. I'm Melissa with TurnLeaf Movement. And for those that are just chiming into episode 4 here, I do this every Thursday at noon to come on here to give an hour to have the authentic chats about everything and anything. My background, I'm an international addiction counselor, work in behavior, but I specialize in addiction. So I come on and just save space. It is not scripted, so whatever comes in, comes in. There'll be education, there'll be experiences, personal stories. I work with clients with addiction and mental health with my full-time practice, and of course I have TurnLeaf Movement here, and so I bring in experiences in that way as well, and pretty much what comes up, and don't mind me if I'm a little bit scattered here. And it's been a busy week, a very, very busy week. Oh, I hope I don't mess anything up here. Yeah. Geez Louise, everything is okay. It looks like I'm still good there. Ticker's still going. So yeah, it's Thursday here, and I feel like I just got off the weekend and we're hitting back into the weekend tomorrow. But this week, there's been a theme really that has been at a standstill here for a few weeks now. And as I meet with my clients pretty well, I got clients every day. But I'm noticing a theme coming up, and that is really the head chatter. Okay, I notice it's getting a little bit louder for everyone, me included. Okay, so what that is when I say, head chatter, or certain parts of ourself that are coming back online, and I feel like they're getting louder and louder. Whether that is, anger or symptoms of depression. Okay, so wanting, not being motivated, feeling shame, wanting to isolate, feeling, anger and sadness, and that's coming to the forefront. I'm finding with much of the clients that I'm working on. Of course, many are doing well and really working, and they're not being triggered in this capacity, but a lot are, and being in this field, and working with behavior and psychotherapy per se, there's many different approaches. There's not just one practice. There's so many different therapies. All of them do have value and such. But when it comes to trauma, it's a unique approach. Okay, and as we continue to evolve here in mental health, we've seen much of the approaches and medical supports that, have been, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And although, it bypasses a lot of the approaches is, there's the talk therapy, the CBD, there's the, there's much, there's a lot there that I've noticed, not only with family, but with clients. I've noticed that there's kind of a bypassing of personal responsibility, of being able to get the patient or the client to really look at and being a part of what they're experiencing in their bodies and in their minds. And then being able to associate these parts of us, these coping mechanisms, these roles that we take on based on what we've experienced growing up, childhood. So I do a lot of inner child work with my clients, being able to take them back and being aware, not putting them back. I know this is just such a false belief here. And I had a client this morning as well say, like, if we go back to that place, aren't you just going to re-traumatize me? Well, that's a part of you that is trying to protect yourself. So let's look at that first of all. But because, there is, sorry, things are popping up here again. Because it is a unique practice, and of course, we need to be skilled. We should be skilled, whether you're a counselor, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a doctor. There is confidence in not particularly putting the client back into that scene, into that experience, but acting more of an awareness, being aware of it, and then sitting with it as a support and not being back into that, your conscious is not going back into being that small child, that 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, whatever. We have trauma as adults as well. But it's a different approach. It's a unique approach. And being able to kind of, observing it and having that relationship with it in your adult self, being able to support it in that capacity. Because when we experience trauma, when growing up, when we experience these unfortunate situations, we were not heard back then. We were not seen. If anything, we were judged, we were shunned, we were shamed, we were isolated. We were told to be anything but what we were being. And at that time, of course, what comes to that small child is I have to create a part in me that is going to protect me from ever feeling this again, because this really, really hurts. And so it comes up in the adult life, in our adult experiences, and we take that wound and we take that experience on our life journey, on our life path, and we don't even know we're doing it. All right. So what I like to do, and I've been counseling here for, I don't know, I think over 12, 13 years, what have you, which is great. But I'll never stop learning. I consider myself a student. And especially as we are evolving as helpers, as educators, as healers, we're noticing more and more, and I'm noticing more and more, that the client, the patients, the collective humanity is really able to be empowered, and they have a lot more control and abilities to heal themselves, them being part of it, instead of you know, going in and being assessed, looking at symptoms, looking at history of symptoms, diagnosing, medicating. What I'm noticing a lot more is that we're able to actually, as we are trauma informed, I'm hoping we're all, as helpers in this field, that we are trauma informed. I think it's, if you are in this field, it is absolutely necessary because of the wounds the collective has experienced. Intergenerational, the lineage just goes on for hundreds of years here, and we pass on these wounds, intergenerations, to our kids, to our grandkids, comes from grandparents. It just goes down the line. Okay, so we transfer those wounds. And now what I'm noticing, and I've been doing this in my practice for a little bit here, is being able to really pay attention when there is something coming up in you, whether that is a need to control a situation, feeling anxious in certain environments or around certain people, or being able to instead avoid it, allow it a platform, allow it the stage. I like to call it a stage. I feel like our lives, our bodies, are really, because we're so complex, and we ourselves have multi-personalities, multi-characters. So I like to think of it, and the clients kind of like this approach as well. I like to think of it as we've got certain roles. Okay, so we get to bring up these characters. So if you have anxiety based on a particular situation, whether that be work, whether that be with a family member, whether that be a response to your kids, anger, whatever that looks like, it doesn't feel very, very good. You can feel it in your body. And then, of course, the head chatter starts, that shitty committee starts. And there's value in that. There is so much value in that. And if we don't bring up a platform for these feelings, then they don't go away. They only get louder. And as I was mentioning the theme this week, I feel like I've been so busy with clients. The theme has been, there's low days. They are feeling anxiety this week is quite high. Feelings of depression are present. Sadness. And it's not just the weather here. We haven't had much sun in about a week. I feel like we haven't had sun in weeks. But it's more than that. And we can go ahead and externalize it all we want, but it's, yes, the vitamins from the sun is great. But no, this is coming up for you because it wants to be heard. Okay, and it comes from a place. And I do this inner child work with my clients on a regular basis, and it is beneficial. Okay, so because we can hold it in compassion, and we're not trying to change it, we actually want to get to know it. And there's a very similar practice that was developed by Dick Schwartz, and that is the internal family system. And it's a particular practice. It is along the lines of like a psycho-spiritual practice, okay? And really what it does is it recognizes that we all have these parts in us, okay? And he uses that language and that terminology as we have different parts, and this part of me reacts like this when this happens, and this part of me acts like this in this environment or with this person. And what this practice, the IFS practice, does beautifully is it embraces these parts, and it gives a platform. Okay, it gives a platform for these parts to come up with permission. There's a mindfulness that comes with it. So you're able to pinpoint how this feels in your body, Is there a color? Is there a taste? Is the chances that there's a feeling that comes with it? And then start the conversation with this part. What is it trying to tell you? Okay. And can we be with it? Can it be heard? And it's interesting with this particular approach and this practice is the part will give you information. It will tell you that I am protecting you. These are protecting parts. I am protecting you and I'm giving you this coping mechanism, or I'm giving you this personality, this character, this role to protect you from getting hurt in this capacity again. And it's always based on a wound. If we really get into peeling back the onions, as us, helpers like to call it, it's peeling back the layers and asking permission for these parts of us to be heard. And when there is a process to go through, so that's why I say, the skill is it's not just, okay, go ahead and apply IFS. We got to make sure that we're, of course, trauma informed, and we've got some training around this. But I've been doing something very similar to this for quite some time. But this week, that's what's really been coming up to me. So I've been taking out my IFS material and my tools, and allowing that as a resource to really help me help the clients this week. And some really, really profound healing, because when we give the space for our anger, our resentment, our isolation, our avoidance, these are all learned. Okay, these are all parts of us that are soldiers, really, in this battlefield, because you are wounded. And when we are able to sit with and have a conversation as the adult, Melissa, I'm just going to use mine because I've done this over the years with myself. I recommend to do it with a counselor or therapist that is versed in IFS, because it just feels different. But some can really look at bringing up these parts in them and then saying, okay, what can you share with me? But there's particular questions, of course, that comes with it that's prompted by the helper. But it's a dance. It's really a dance, and there's so much compassion that really comes out of it to say, wow, of course that's what you needed to do to protect me. Look what this wounded part of me went through. And thank you for that. Thank you for protecting me back then. And the thing that we learn throughout this type of practice is that part of you, that protector part of you, gets frozen in time with that wound. So if there was the wound when you were 7, 10, 14, 22, if you actually talk to this part, it's telling you, you're 7 years old, so I had to protect you then because you didn't have anybody to protect you. So when we're able to come in as our adult self, because we're adults now, we're able to say, I got this. Thank you. I understand, why you protected me. I understand this, but is there another role that you want to take on instead of, being angry, instead of, being really over organized and controlling? Is there another role that you want to take on? Because we're able to go in and chance, and it'll speak to you because it comes from you. It's part of you. And I know it sounds silly, but it will speak to you. And those that do meditate, even hypnotherapy, this is very popular in that regards as well. But in this approach, nobody's being put under or anything. But there is a mindfulness there. You are acting kind of as a mediator, as a manager. And then when you really get to sit with the little you, and the you that had experienced this trauma, it changes your life. It changes the relationship that you have with yourself. And instead of shaming yourself, and instead of avoiding and not wanting to feel what you're feeling, you actually get in with it, and say, I got you now, and you're safe. You're safe right now. And of course, as I said, this is a journey. I've always said that there's no magic pill or anything, but it's a different perception, putting on that different lens of, if I am feeling A, B, and C, I understand that this comes from, and it doesn't feel very good because it's a trigger, and it doesn't feel good, and you can feel it in your body. Many times with this approach, or all the time actually, it's, do you feel it around you, or do you feel this energy in you? And they'll tell you. For me, it's below my chest, above my stomach. So I'll be able to recognize that and tap into it. And so it's a different relationship that you have with yourself. And when thoughts of contrast do come up again, or there is an old pattern coming up in you again, you're able to recognize and sit with yourself and say, all right, this is coming up. Is there something, do you want to be heard? Because that little you wasn't heard. It wasn't heard. And many times, even the externally, you get the beautiful home, the hardworking parents, middle to high class. The kids, if you go back to that, they're they try to be perfect for their parents, when they just wanted to play. And when I talk to these parts, because I do it with my clients and I do it with myself, I've done it with myself. It's actually quite profound. It's changed my life. This approach has changed my life, and it's changed the way I practice. So, but if you look at the children that appear to have it all, okay, they'll actually they'll bring up their part. And when I do ask, is there another role that you want to take on, because that's a big responsibility, that you had to be so organized, and take care of the family or your brothers and sisters while mom and dad was working. And you had to be very organized, because if you didn't, then there was a rejection, avoidance, anger from mom and dad. So, and when you ask this part, what else would you like to be? A lot of times it's, I want to hang out with my friends, and I want to play. I want to be creative. And then we look at integrating, that, and reprogramming that. And addiction in this modality, with this practice, it's a big part of the trauma work that I do, because my clients, all of them, not a 99% or 97%, all of them, because when they're using, it's a coping mechanism, okay, to numb. And all of them have trauma. All of them have trauma. And that's why I apply this practice, because it allows for them to be heard, okay? The IFS approach absolutely allows the client, the person, to really understand why they used. And with this approach, we don't want to hear so much about the addiction. We want to hear about the wounds. We want to hear about the pain. I don't care how much you use and what have you, I don't. And I know a lot of the assessments are, how much did you use? When did you start? And I Sure, there's value in its information, but I don't want to hear about the addiction. I want to hear about the pain, because that's what the coping mechanism, that's what you want to numb, that's what you want to hide. That's what the protector parts of you are trying to protect. Don't touch me there. You don't want to feel that again. And so, very profound with substance dependence. And when we are able to look at the wounds that we are trying to protect, the need to want to numb, it subsides. Drug use, dependence decreases with this type of practice. Okay, and that's beautiful. We always do things, cope, to protect us from feeling the challenges. We want to be accepted. Okay. And also what I do much with myself and with my clients is the somatic work, which is connecting with your body. Connecting with your body is huge. And IFS, there's a correlation there. So with both practices, being able to connect and breathe with your body, connecting with muscle, because if we can be aware, when I'm aware and I'm in session, we're able to physically put that pain and that feeling somewhere, okay, that you can feel it. Many is in your throat, head, stomach, back, what have you, okay, and there are particular exercises that help release this, okay, and it's energy, right, and it turns into disease. It does, the heart is restricted. It doesn't trust. It's closed. Well, you're gonna feel that, and we automatically go to, the high blood pressure, the diagnosis of anxiety and depression and such. But when we could hold space and say, wait a minute, is there a different way to do this here? And can we help connect the mind, body, spirit, energy, and empower that self, I mean, shit, this is what's gonna, I'm on that train. I'm aboard that train. So I've been really in a fog this week, really busy in work, really busy in work. Bringing up, lots of, I got books, got my books everywhere. And I just, this is my purpose. This is why I'm here, and I resonate with it. I connect with it. And then when I'm able to empower my clients to say, wow, I actually feel lighter and I feel released, and I could resonate why I do the things that I do, and hold space for the little me, the inner child. I mean, and then if they're not using substances, that's secondary, though. I never try to stop the substance. I mean, with harm reduction, harm reduction is one part, which is, it is effective. Absolutely. Harm reduction, I totally support harm reduction. But a relapse prevention plan, much of it is focused on the addiction. Much of it is focused on creating a plan to identify the triggers, to identify solutions, identify interruptions, avoid. And we're missing a part there. Is sure, we identify it. That's great. I love that we're identifying triggers. I love that we're people, places, and things, and that's awareness. But we're missing going deeper. We're missing that part. And that's what IFS does, is really allows us to say, perfect, we're focusing on this trigger. and that's why we're seeing such I mean, across the board with addiction. I swear to God, every week there's an overdose, and it's really hard to see, but we're not looking deeper, and we are isolating this population. Our downtown looks completely. I'm downtown Sudbury, or I live in Sudbury here, Ontario, and our downtown, it looks different than it was 5 years ago, even. And so, yes, we can. They go into these treatment programs, which are beautiful that we have, of course, but we're missing a big part of trauma work. We're trauma informed. We're sensitive to it. We are aware of it as helpers, but we're not really getting into these practices with them. We are identifying. Okay. Yes, I feel anxiety. Yes, you can follow the bouncing ball. When you're in relapse mode, you can identify moods, behaviors, actions that probably going to lead up to a relapse. But what we're not doing is we're not talking to the anxiety. We're not bringing that right up. Okay. So I think it's important, as helpers in general, that we really look at, for this population here, especially with addiction, that we are looking at bringing up to surface and befriending, not shaming. Because what happens is, if the client doesn't understand their anxiety and where it's coming from, when it happens again, they just feel so ashamed that they're constantly thought looping through it again and again. There's a lot of shame around that. Yes, I'm aware of it, but what the fuck's the matter with me? And that's what I hear all the time. I just can't get this. And the helper, the counselor, the therapist gets frustrated and helpless. I've been there. I've absolutely been there. Like I said, I'm a student in this role as well. And but I feel with this approach and being able to say, okay, let's look at this and let's see what it has to say, and let's see what it's protecting, because we have these protectors. Dick Schwartz likes to call them the parts. There's protector parts, and there's the wound, so there's different types. So your parts, or protecting parts, are protecting the wound. That's the peeling back of the onion. So we want to get into that. We want to talk to it. And if you give it the space, it will talk to you through self. It will speak to you through self. Being able to, close your eyes and being mindful and looking at this part of you that is protecting you. And once you realize that your anxiety and all the symptoms and all the forms that it comes in, these parts, there's so many different parts. There's no bad parts. They're just parts, as Dick calls them. Once we realize that they actually had a role to protect us, and they are heard, and that we, the authentic self, our self, that we are born beautifully perfect with, once it is heard, it actually can step aside and say, let me show you what I was protecting. And it'll take you back to the scene, whether, let's say, there's a divorce, or when you're a child, or abandonment, or what have you. It'll take you back to that scene. And then you're able to go in, and then you're able to say, are we able to reshape this relationship with anxiety? And being aware of exactly what you are, why you're doing it, and what it is that you're doing and why you are doing it. Because when we're born, we are born perfectly with all these parts. The parts are not tainted at all. We are all multi-personalities when we're young, and we're playful, and we're curious, and we're compassionate, and, we're challenging and risk takers. And that's all part of it. We learn, we develop, all these things that comes perfect when you are born. Perfect. And then as these experience these wounds, the exile, the exile parts, as Dick likes to call them. Once they get implanted, that's when the protectors come on. The protectors come on. And it's saving lives. This type of approach, this type of trauma practice is saving lives. With trauma, with individuals that have experienced trauma, medicating this trauma hasn't shown to be effective long term. It numbs it because it keeps on coming up. It's those protective parts that keep on coming up. There is absolutely a place for medication. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I don't want it to be the only solution. And that's unfortunately what has happened throughout the last couple decades here. So the client will come in and say, I'm not sleeping. No, here's your pill. And chances are it's addictive. And it just numbs. It numbs. It doesn't want you to look at anything. And it feels good at the time. And sure, I'm sleeping better and I hear this, but I can see it in their face. I can see it in their eyes. There's a fog. And when we really look and deep down, it's like, you know what, I'm not really socializing much. And I've been on my meds and I'm not really socializing much. And I'm isolating and I am depressed. Yes, I'm sleeping, but I'm still having the same issues that are coming in, but now I'm more confused about it because I don't even have the energy to even look at it. You know, there's different ways. There's different ways and treatments, and this is so complex. And but what I do know is when we can sit authentically in ourselves, okay, and bring this up for us, we are better for it. I am better for it. I am becoming, my self energy per se. And it's changed the relationship that I have with myself. It's changed the way I need to control others and control environments. It changes the way that I show up in life. It just does. I understand it better because I'm no longer running from it. So it's either the exile wound is either really far away and we don't even want to look at it. Like I'm too fucked up. I don't want to look at my experiences. So it's really, really far away. And most of the time that's the case. And the protector parts is just kind of here for distractions, right? They're the soldiers kind of holding that part, the exile part, the wound, far enough. And then the protector parts come in and say, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Or it's right in front of your face and it's just, I am A, B, and C because of that. And it's right there in your face. It's too close. And so it suffocates you. There's anxiety. There's so much, So being able to say, yeah, let's look at it all. And love and compassion. This is feedback that I've gotten for years from clients is, I finally feel heard and I don't feel judged. And I've got a little bit of crazy. One of my crazy parts that come in. I'm humorous. I'm playful. I like to have fun. And a lot of times, as I would look back, I would say, okay, was that a part of me trying to protect myself? Sure. Because it's a distraction, right? But that is my authentic part. And there's no bad part. But how am I using that humor? Where am I using it? And when I really check in with myself, am I feeling a little bit tight? Am I feeling a little bit threatened? Am I feeling a little bit insecure? And then I got to get louder and louder and funnier because I've got a pretty interesting sense of humor, which is fun. But then what that part is it protecting something? And maybe it's not. Maybe it's not protecting anything. Because when I am in sessions and I am silly and my playful side does come out, I do believe that is my authentic self. That is self. That is connection. That is, where I'm playful. So it depends. It depends on the day. It depends on the scene. but we have so many different personalities, and it's not the multi-personality, the dissociative personality that we're talking about here. And then we get to say, wow, I do actually, yes, I accept that I have multiple roles. I am one way with this person. I am another way in this environment. I am another way when I am this. I am another way, especially let's say my mood has changed. And being able to be like we're different, and that's the way this is. I mean, our brains and our bodies are, they're temples. They're so brilliant, and to tap into so many different senses. We don't just have five senses. I don't give a shit what you say. We have intuition. We have spirit. And that's a big part of what has been missing. I feel like within the last couple of years, though, consciousness is actually being measured now. Don't mind me, I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to, clinical studies in regards to what energy can do to our healing and our bodies, what our mind and body can do for healing diseases and cancer, and mental health and addiction. And as we kind of evolve here, there's brilliant peer-reviewed studies on this type of work like IFS, consciousness, somatic work, Reiki. I mean, I can go on and on and on. But the FDA doesn't have to approve that because it doesn't come in a bottle. So, there's some pushback, which is fine, but they can only push back so long. There's many, many institutions. I can name a list off of here. Monroe Institution. There's so many different universities that are really bringing in this alternative approach for the way we look at medicine and mental health. And I am friggin' pumped about it because that's the seat that I'm in. And I have been up against the mental health and the medical system since I've been in this position. And using my voice and advocating for, not just pill pushing, being able to sit around the table with many of my clients as an advocate with their psychiatrists and saying, is there a different way here? And I have absolutely gotten some backlash. I've been judged. I have been shut out. But I don't go away. I don't go away because this is my purpose. And that's why that sense that I have, and when you are driven and and you feel that there's something wrong with these approaches, like I said, I'm not opposed to medication. I'm opposed to medication that is the only solution, and if it's causing an adverse effect to your mental health and your physical health, your body, I'm opposed to that. Okay. And I love that there are alternative healing approaches, medical, mental health approaches. That's the table I'm sitting around, and this is through TurnLeaf Movement. I am very fortunate to be able to do this with my client, with the agency that I'm currently with, and I've been with for many, many years, over 12 years, I think. I've stopped counting. But, being able to say like, there's room for this, and we accept that, and the clients accept it. Because like I said, we're students. The clients are asking for help. And we're in a crisis right now. We are in a crisis of trauma. We are in a crisis of mental health. We are in a crisis of addiction. We are in a crisis of health in general. Obesity, heart. I mean, I can go on and on and on. This is a crisis here. And we're learning here. But once you feel that you resonate with an approach like I do with IFS, once you feel, and the somatic work that I do as well, once you feel that resonance with the community that supports it as well, you don't feel so alone. I thought I was going nuts. Like, am I the only one that sees this? Because I get a lot of backlash. Not so much these days. I'm noticing a little bit more in being intrigued and curious of this particular style. But it's not as resistant. Okay, there's so many different ways. I mean, talk therapy, absolutely it works. Strength based, absolutely. CBT, yes, it works. All of these, it works. But when we're talking, what are we focusing on? And is there a healing practice in there? Is there a particular practice? We can't we just chit chatting about what we went through. There's room for it, sure, but are we able to link it? And are we able to change the relationship and the beliefs that we have around our wounds and our experiences, our parents, the lineage? The lineage is a big one. And even with this type of work, when there's resentment with mom, dad, relatives, the abusers, I'm noticing that when the protectors are on the sidelines, they're not completely gone, but they have a little bit of a different role. And that comes, I call it ego, right? These protectors, if you've been following me, it's very much the language I use is ego. Okay. It has a place. There is absolutely a place. There was definitely a place for it when you needed it 20 years ago. And that's when we show the compassion. But when we put the protector parts aside, give them a different role, make them feel heard, make them feel seen, no longer shame them, we actually look at the abusers and the people that we do hold on the attachment, the attachment that is associated with it. We actually hold some compassion. I notice that is a theme. There's some compassion there. There's some curiosity and saying, wow, yes, my mother, transferred her wounds onto me. But holy shit, when I look back, and I've done this work specifically with mom, she's no longer with us. She did die by suicide when I was 17 because of addiction and mental health. But I've done this work with her, and I see now, I have a completely different relationship with her in spirit. I see her through compassion. And because there's different techniques, there's different tools, different imaging scenes and such that I take my clients through, and I do myself. And when we look at them through the lens of the protector, very different, defiant, hostile, angry. When we speak to the protector first and then we go into the wound, you never want to go into the wound first. And I feel like that might be something, I know I've done it before. Let's just get to the wound. Let's just get to the inner child of exactly where you experienced the trauma and how you experienced, and that doesn't always work. More not, because you're missing the coping mechanisms and the protector parts, the feelings. You're missing that. You're bypassing that. You're going right to the wound. So when you're looking at your abuser, getting back to this practice, looking at the abuser through the lens of the protector, you're going to feel these feelings based on the perception of the protector. When we remove the protector, set it aside, it's no longer attached in that way, we actually see the facial expressions are different. We feel different, and we can hold some compassion there. And that is so profound, because we go from a place of hate, resentment, shame, all those low vibes, to compassion. And that helps heal that intergenerational trauma. It really does. It really, really does. And I see it in myself, and I see it in my clients. So that was a theme this week, and I wanted to share it here today. And and let everyone know here that is watching, and I appreciate it, that there is a way that, and there's practices and unique ways to help you through this trauma. That's not scary. That's not overwhelming. That's a big part with therapy, okay? Is I don't want to go there. I fear therapy because I don't want to go there. Or there was an experience there where therapy, you know, either didn't work or maybe did more harm. So there's that. But we get to look at that as well. Nothing is left unsaid. Nothing is left unturned. And doing the work this week with clients, being able to bring this up for them. My sessions typically last about an hour, sometimes more, and I give that time, of course. But we leave sessions saying, I feel lighter today. Thank you. And they thank themselves. I'm a tool. Okay. I'm a resource for them. And yes, I'm there to prompt questions, and I'm there to do what I do as a helper and an educator, because a lot of it is education in this regards. Giving them some insight is empowering for them. But going through this, and then as the time goes on, and I'm patient, very patient, and there's compassion there, and there's always permission. I always ask permission to speak with these parts. Because a lot of times with therapy and being a practitioner, there's forcing. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to get through this. You have to get through that. And this is how to do it. It's like, well, wait a minute. Hey, I've been protecting little Melissa for 35 years. Good luck with trying to tell me to go away. And that's where the addiction would come in. So if you're in resistance with your doc or your therapist, your counselor, you're in resistance of them, and they're trying to tell you to stop being an addict, to stop being a dependent, to stop doing these behaviors, you're going to say, it's not going to work. The protector is going to say, oh my God, I need to protect you from this, because you're reminding me a lot of being shamed and judged and rejected when I was 10. You know, we can't change it for them, and every client is different. So if we bring up the protector and we say, hey, can we have a little chit chat here with them, and they say, I'm not ready for it. All right. There's a path for that as well. There's a path, but there's no trying to change it. And I've said this over and over and over again. Stop trying to change who you are and what is coming up for you. You are perfect and beautiful exactly the way you are. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why, always a reason why you are coping the way you are. The role that you're taking on with your wife or your husband or your child. There is a reason why. And I'm happy to say that I can help with that. But I'm tired. I'm going to recharge myself, is what I'm going to do today. I got a couple more minutes here. But what I'm going to do to kind of connect with my body and myself today is to tap myself on the back here, because I had some really good sessions this week. Some really, really good work this week. And leaving clients feeling empowered, and then being able to do the work, because I see them once a week or once every 2 weeks, bi-weekly. So then leaving them with some tools to say, if this is going to come up for you again, go through it, recognize it, bring it up. What does it need to say? So they are able to, they don't have to numb. They're not using any more, especially with the couple clients that I saw today. They're not using substances right now, and they celebrate that. That's a win for them. But it's even deeper when they feel like they kind of got it. They kind of got it, and this is only part of it. Like I said, there's no end journey we continue to go on. We will continue to be triggered. We will continue, but it's a different approach. It's a different relationship that we have with our symptoms. It's a different relationship that we have with the wounded part. And when we take all that apart, there is a very fun, curious, compassionate, kind, connected self. And that's beautiful. And that's the trajectory that I'm on. It's a lot of work because I had to do a lot of healing myself within the last couple of years. But I'm thankful for that, and I'm grateful for that, because I wouldn't be able to do the work that I do, and have the compassion that I have for this very complex field of humanity. Trying to heal humanity here. I wouldn't I wouldn't I wouldn't have it if I didn't have my experiences. All right. So I'm hoping that my microphone was working here. I really am. But I'm going to leave you with that, okay? I know there was a lot here in this hour of tough talks. But it was a big theme coming up, and I can guarantee you, for the collective, you can resonate with this, and show yourself some compassion. Show these parts of you compassion, and you're going to be okay. And if you do need some support in regards to a helper, I am taking individual sessions at this point. Just go ahead on to my Facebook TurnLeaf Movement page and book an appointment there, or send me an email. All my contact, email, website. I'm on YouTube as well, all this, but everything is there on my Facebook page. Send me an email, even if you just want to chit chat, message me. It's all there. All my information is there on my TurnLeaf Movement page on Facebook. Yes, we can do a lot of this on our own, but a lot of times we can't. There needs to be that soundboard per se, that manager, that mediator to help mediate this type of work and this type of healing. So I am here for you, if and when you are ready. When you are ready, all right? So I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you here next Thursday at noon. I think it's next Thursday at noon. I might actually be. I'm just trying. No, I'll be. I was going to say I might be on the road, which is fine, because I'm still on. Like I said, unless there's a crisis with a client or something's going on with my kids, I don't care where I am. I'm going live noon on Thursday on my TurnLeaf Movement page, Facebook page. All right. Goodbye for now. Sending you so much love, so much light. Take care.